Only thing that's on my mind is who's gonna run this town tonight. Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well. So tonight we have something very scary for you. Ghost City Tours here in New Orleans is proud to present. Are you ready?
No, not really.
I don't know, hon. I'm very excited. He's like, I don't know about this.
I'm not really sure about this. I already have knots in my stomach about it, but tell them all what we're doing here.
We are excited to meet the real, one and only Annabelle Doll. The haunted Annabelle Doll.
The one that inspired The Conjuring and the Annabelle movies.
So thank you to Ghost City Tours for letting us have a great time with them and be able to do this video with them, because we are so excited that we can bring this to you.
It's not just here in New Orleans, it's going to be in cities all across the country. Next stop, for example, San Antonio, Texas.
Yes.
So stay on the lookout for that.
They are traveling around the country to bring you the real Annabelle Doll. This is not a replica. This is the real deal that they are bringing to you for 2 days only, May 13th and May 14th, and we're so excited to have this in our city. Also, this sold out very quick. They had limited tickets because they are traveling across the country and they can only be here for 2 days. Thank you to Ghost City Tours for having this. And I don't know, babe, everyone's been telling us, do not stare into the doll's eyes.
Possession is possible here tonight. So stick around. Let's see what we get into, because this potentially can be a misadventure. As we walk to Ghost City Tours, the location for the Annabelle experience, we wanted to give you a little bit more info on the Warrens and show you the beautiful New Orleans, the most haunted city in the United States of America. The Warrens were a pair of paranormal investigators. They were famous for investigating some of the most famous hauntings in modern history. Their investigations have become the basis for many movies, including the Amityville Horror and the Conjuring series, along with other movies as well. Also in 1952, they started the New England Society for Psychic Research, the oldest ghost hunting group in New England, and more importantly for us, they are the people who are bringing Annabelle to every city so we will be able to see her with the Annabelle Devil on the Run tour. This is the actual Warrens. All the artifacts you're going to see tonight are from the actual Warrens Museum.
So the one very strict rule they have that we all must be respectful on is no touching the doll. It is not allowed to be touched. Also, we wanted to mention they have been having non-stop tours all night long. This is the last tour and they are leaving New Orleans literally right after this event. They tell you before you go in, take photos at your own risk. Remember, this is a whole paranormal investigation by the Warrens, and they swear this doll is possessed. So they're letting us know that right up front. Honey, you still scared?
Oh, my stomach's still in knots.
I'm not going to waste too much of your time because I want to get you in there, but thank you for coming. We have one of our investigators, Wade Kirby, that's going to talk about Annabelle. And we also have Ryan Buell that's going to talk a little bit about his experience with Annabelle. And he also worked with Lorraine Warren. And I have Father Bob Bailey here, which also worked with Lorraine Warren and was also on Paranormal State with Ryan. So I don't want to hold you up because there's a lot of people here, and I want you to enjoy yourself. I'm going to make sure you get your pictures, with the items as well.
This is Ryan Buell. You may remember him from Paranormal State. Okay, so I'm going to talk real fast. Hold on to your belts, and then we're going to give them a good one. Okay? Good. All right. My name is Wade Kirby. I'm one of the 5 members of the current NESPR team, New England Society of Psychic Research, founded by Ed Lorraine Warren in 1952. Yes, the house is real. It is in Monroe. I happen to be living there now, and I'm the caretaker. Took care of Miss Warren's cats. All right. Now, let's talk some ghosts. There are several types of ghosts that I want to explain about real quick, and I'm going to go fast. So if you have questions, you'll be able to talk to Ryan and myself during the photo sessions, so don't worry. Now, there is an apparition. This is a spirit who you know, Grandma, okay? And she'll only come to your bedside when you're ready to give a message, say on your wedding day, and she wants you to be understood. So she'll come in a form or fashion that will not scare you, such as a dream state. 88% of them do. Okay, or you might smell Grandpa's tobacco. Something that will remind you that they're there. They want you not to be scared. They want you to receive any messages and to be guided, and mostly loved. By the way, keep an eye out, now that you know about the paranormal. No accident that you're in here, for a little hair of a pet you may have had many years ago, or that feeling of a jump on the bed. There's no accidents. Now, number 2, let's get to a ghost. A ghost is a spirit that you do not know. And there are many categories. For example, if you had a wedding that you have been planning for 2 years, it's tomorrow night. You've got their flowers arranged, you've got the dresses, the band, the caterers, okay. Really worked hard on it. You're flying to Atlanta, it's that next night, and also plane crashes. You see your body, it's not responsive, you know nothing of the paranormal. Now you all don't have to worry about that because you're in this room. You already are ahead of the program. So everyone, regardless of how you judge your life, will have the light come to them. Even a bank robber, okay? There's no judgment in that respect. That's the good news. But unfortunately, you've got that wedding and you're not ready to cross over. So you stay, what I call, in limbo. Now, I'm going to use these words as my own now from what I've experienced. So everyone will have a different term for it, but here we go. You're going to go to the wedding because you did so much effort on it. Energy expended. Energy cannot be destroyed, Mr. Warren taught me. And also, energy will attract the like energy. Case in point, I know you all have friends who love aerobics, and you go to aerobic class, you go to baseball games, football games, okay? Like attracts like. Energy, you hang with people that relate to you, obviously. Okay, makes sense? Same thing in the spirit world, but you're at the wedding. And you're very frustrated because they don't see you, they can't exchange with you, you can't exchange and enjoy the ceremony with them. You become bitter, confused, angry. Guess what that does? It lowers the frequency of your soul. Like attracts like. Other souls who have a lower frequency or are very bitter will recognize you and hang with you, much like a gang. If you don't believe me, when you walk out this door 10 feet, look left or right. And there's my point. Okay? So, now, that being said, after a while, you can't express with your family or drive that car or give that grandchildren now who's born 3 years later a hug. You've become really angry at life and what has happened. It's not fair. So you gather with negative spirits of the vibration that you're turning into. These spirits like to play games on humans. They do what's called acts of oppression, shaking the bed. Remember I said about Grandma? She would never do that. She would come in a different way. But there are spirits who are dark, or what we call demonic, who would play games. We call it, Mr. Warren would always call it acts of oppression. And that's exactly what it is. Let's bring it to the third and last level. A inhuman demonic spirit is a spirit that never walked the earth. They were thrown out of heaven before the dinosaurs walked this earth. And they do not have a path to God. You, every single one of you, does. You have the divine spark within you, but you also have free will to express with it or not. No judgment. Free will. So, an inhuman spirit will want to destroy that path. It's angry at me, It's angry at Ryan. It's angry at you because you have that gift. So therefore, it wants to destroy it by acts of oppression. See the pattern? Now, this is probably one of the most famous inhuman spirits on earth, and it has done great harm to several people and costing them their lives, and put a priest in the hospital for 3 months. So, at this point right now, you know the classifications of spirits, and I want to introduce how Ryan met the first experience of this doll, and also Miss Warren. He's got a wonderful story. So, this is Ryan Buell from Paranormal State, a member of the Nesper team, and we are honored to have him here tonight.
Hi guys. Last group in New Orleans. You guys made it. So, one of the questions we've been getting asked all throughout our stops is Annabelle still active? The answer is yes, yes, yes. We just had Annabelle in West Virginia State Penitentiary. We actually had to shut down the investigation Friday night because it was getting a little aggressive. It's contained, right? Like what Wade is saying is true. Like everything about this case is intentional, okay? It's infused in holy water, holy oil. It's got crosses on all 3 sides to represent the Holy Trinity. Even the bench that she sits on has the Lord's Prayer etched on it. But that doesn't mean that Annabelle still can't manipulate things around the environment, especially when provoked. If you have equipment, often Annabelle will, or people will get evidence with the equipment, especially EVP or Ovilus or other spirit communication devices.
Tell what happened with the man with the tonight, like an hour ago.
Yeah, we just had a guy in a group two groups ago, where the EVP meter was going off like crazy. So, still active. The first time I ever met Annabelle, I had an experience which I'll share. And this was back in like 2009. Another misconception, or a misconception that people have, is that Ed and Lorraine Warren never took the items out of the museum. It's not true. It is true that they are heavily guarded. The Warrens' house is like a fortress, that the items are contained in the museum. But every so often, Ed and Lorraine would take the select items out to educate the public. They knew that people wanted to see the items. Now, since the Conjuring movies have come out, thousands of people have tried to, have driven into the neighborhood where their house is, caused a ruckus with the neighborhood. The neighbors loved Ed and Lorraine, they loved Lorraine, but they just want to live in peace. So the museum is permanently shut down. But even back in 2009, Lorraine was still carrying on Ed's legacy because he died in 2006. She started working with my team, my group, and we had a documentary show called Paranormal State, and she agreed to go on investigations with us across the country. And at the height of the show, when it was on, sometimes we would do speaking appearances. So she said she would bring some items to a location in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. So there was like a farmhouse in the middle of the Poconos where they were going to have like a Halloween event, and they converted a little chunk of the barn into the museum of the Warrens, like a portable traveling museum. And there were a few rooms you had to go through. The final room was about the size of this room, where people would come in as they were about to exit. It was the last stop, where they would get to take a picture with myself and Lorraine, and also with Annabelle. So the event organizer and photographer were giving us a tour of the setup, and it was a really awesome setup, how they decorated it. And then we get to the last room, and they're like, and this is where you guys will take your pictures. Well, I had never seen Annabelle. Like many of you guys, I grew up hearing about Ed and Lorraine Warren, heard about Annabelle. So, being that this was my first time and they placed her on the floor, I like crouched down to look at her. I'm like kind of up in the face, just really studying the doll. And I said, so you're the doll everyone's been making a fuss about. And I stared at her for a couple more seconds and her head just went, but then it went right back up. And I about pissed my pants. And I was like, this is a prank, right? Like, this is part of the gimmick. I turned around to be like, they were all gone. Lorraine, Tony, the event organizer, the photographer. I guess as they were giving us a tour and I got all wrapped up with Annabelle, they just kept going. So here I was alone on a farm in the middle of the Poconos with Annabelle, and I just had this experience and I'm processing it. And it kind of felt like I was in the twilight zone because I thought this was just seconds when they opened up the doors and attendees started coming through. So like, as I'm still processing this, photographer shows back up, Lorraine shows back up, and they're like, let's take pictures. So the first 50 or so pictures, they told me to be on this side, Lorraine here, Annabelle's down there. They had to keep retaking the pictures because I'm constantly like this. I don't want to have my back to her. So, that was my first experience with the items. With Lorraine and I becoming very close, she eventually would allow me to go and study in Ed's office. And unlike the movies, where it looks like it's just a side door, you have to go downstairs through a basement tunnel, then there's the museum, and on the very other side is Ed's office. So she was like, honey, just take your time, come upstairs when you're done. So I'm sitting there going through Ed's notes, which I was mesmerized by. But then you start hearing all the shit out in the museum. Kids laughing, screams, crying, talking, furniture moving, the pitter-patter of feet, and then, the entryway, kind of like that, where to Ed's office, you would just hear like these whispers, like really close. I mean, it was unreal. So the only way to get out is to go right through the museum. So had to kind of shirk up some bravery to do all that. When I went to go see Lorraine, she's like, so how did the museum treat you? I was like, Lorraine, that place is haunted. She's like, well, of course it's haunted, honey. But she was so nonchalant about it. Just like, yep, this is just an everyday occurrence. When I told her about Annabelle moving, she was like, well, stop giving her attention. That's what she wants. Every item in that museum is a representation of someone they helped, a family that was in need, or someone who they intervened in their lives with to help them for the better. Ed and Lorraine Warren dedicated their lives to helping people. If you think about in the 1960s and 70s, there was no internet, there was no TikTok. So if you had an experience, how did you connect with people, right? So there were other investigators, but they were more about the science or the evidence. But in the 60s and 70s, Ed and Lorraine became advocates for people who were haunted. They wanted everyone to know that there was an invisible world around us, like a dark side of nature, so to speak, of malevolent entities, inhuman entities, and then just hauntings. They had their own experiences. In the 80s, when I was growing up as a kid and I had my experiences, we didn't know where to go. Ed and Lorraine took a lot of shit for speaking out about this, but they did so because they were passionate. They spent their own money traveling around the world helping families. They never charged. They did speak at colleges and they got paid for that. They did have some books, but when it came to going out and doing cases, that was on their dime. Okay, so we're trying to, those of us who've been touched by the Warrens. Again, I never met Ed, but Lorraine was like a grandmother to me, a mentor. Wade knew both Ed and Lorraine. All of us who were touched by them and their legacy, we want to continue that. So that's why we're here showcasing the items, because we know people can't just, drive through Monroe, Connecticut and somehow come across these items since the museum's closed. We want to continue to spread awareness about their work and also about them. Lorraine was one of the kindest souls I have ever met. She believed everyone was inherently good. And for someone who was a diehard Catholic, she didn't care what your religion was, what your sexual identity was. She didn't care. She loved everyone equally. She was love. And if she were here tonight, she would be in the corner over there talking to you guys for hours.
Yes.
You know, her website, the Warrens' website, had a phone number. And you would think it would be like an office manager or something. But no, if you called it, you would hear her voice pick up and be like, hello. It was from her kitchen. She would talk until 2, 3 a.m. with people. You know, she would, when I would talk to her, she was like, oh honey, I was on the phone all night. There's this case in Kentucky, and I was working with the family. So despite the fact that the Warrens Museum is full of really dark stuff, Ed and Lorraine were very much about the light and the human connection, the human experience. And so we know people may have questions about Annabelle. Some of you, anyone here not really know the story about Annabelle? Most of you guys
Was she the first 8 minutes of Conjuring 1?
Yeah. Because some people, you know, ask like what the story is, but yeah, I mean,
You tell it the best.
so the Cliff Notes version, just in case, is that some student nurses were experiencing a haunting, and so they, through that they got in touch with the psychic. Psychic said, "Oh, it's the spirit of a little girl." And so the nurses were like, "Oh, well, if it's a little girl, it can stay." And so they invited the spirit to stay with them. They even got a gift for the spirit, this Raggedy Ann doll. They said, "This is your doll, Annabelle." And then they even gifted the little girl spirit this bracelet that says Annie. It's still on there. Well, it wasn't a little girl. It was an inhuman entity that moved in.
Remember what I talked about earlier? Okay, now you know.
And it went from sweet and innocent to ripping at someone's chest, like gashes and claw marks, sending a priest to the hospital. Another, 1 or 2 other deaths related to this, to where Ed and Lorraine stepped in and they bound the evil spirit to the item and then took it back to the museum. And it took Ed and Lorraine a little bit of time to figure out how to fully bind it. When Ed was overseas in England working on the Enfield poltergeist case, Lorraine was actually doing some renovations in the museum, and Annabelle kind of got out. And Lorraine would tell me stories. Like sometimes they couldn't find Annabelle, and they'd find Annabelle sitting in Ed's chair, kind of playing with it, until they built a case. This is not the original case. This is a travel case they eventually had, but this is the original, and Dan, when he made this, they honored Ed's original case. So yes, it is blessed at all times. If you saw the TikTok videos of us blessing, that's not a gimmick. This is what they do, traveling with these items. While we've been here all day, this room has been blessed dozens of times.
By the way, Conjuring 4 will be out September 5th, and let's just say it's of a very famous case. We hope it is they do the case simply, because that's all you need. This case is out of this world.
So this is the real from the movie. Wow. She looks so real. That's scary.
Our trip's still
This is
ongoing.
awesome.
Mattel, because Raggedy Ann is copyrighted by Mattel. They said, "Hey, we want to make a horror movie. Can we use?" And they said, "Hell no."
They had no idea that the Warner Brother New Line Cinema would be bigger than Star Wars by 2.
Yeah.
Okay? So
that's
now
why
Mattel
they
would
had
have
to
Now
do
they're
that.
like, oh, I wish we'd gotten the money from that.
Yeah, well, so Warner Brothers, they gave the artists and said, make something cute, cuddly, put in a girl's bed, and terrifying.
Right.
And that's the
They
image.
did.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished, right?
Now it's our turn to show you the original Annabelle doll. On top of all that, we were given exclusive access to show you some of the other artifacts as well.
Yes.
This is crazy. My mother told me to be afraid.
Is it true not to stare in her eyes? Is that true?
That's what I heard.
Come on, guys. Come on in.
Okay. That was the amazing Annabelle. Hope you guys enjoyed this. We certainly did. We learned so much about the history. So a big thank you to the Warrens Occult Museum in Connecticut for allowing them to bring these items here to New Orleans. Again, they're going to be traveling around the country. So if they come to your city, their town, and if you love horror like I love horror, also if you love the Annabelle doll, if you're fascinated by the Warrens, I know I was as a kid, I thought it was truly fascinating, you know, the paranormal side, you may want to check out this exhibit. Again, I didn't stare too much in her eyes. So thank you guys for having this. We appreciate you. Thank you for allowing us to do this video so other people can come visit you guys when you guys are traveling around the country. So we're going to say goodnight from Ghost City Tours. And I think we're saved from Annabelle. They did a lot of prayers. So hopefully we're going to be okay.
One eternity later.
So we just came home for visiting Annabelle and our friends at Ghost City Tours.
Yes.
And we definitely had an experience like no other, right?
It was a time.
Yeah, it definitely was. We've never actually done anything like that before, right? Hon?
No, I was too busy having massive stomach cramps. And my stomach was in knots. That's a true story, guys.
Before we left.
Before we left, and my stomach was in knots. Mm-hmm. All I'm going to say is this. When it comes to experience, my stomach was in knots by the time I left. Yeah. My stomach was not in knots anymore.
That was a good thing, right?
So it was a good thing. Annabelle cured my stomach issues, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But that's weird because most people go in and have these paranormal experiences with her. Yeah. I come out with not having a stomach ache anymore. So hey, shout out to Annabelle, I guess.
I think it was definitely very interesting. We learned a lot of history. We had the presenters that were very close to the Warrens telling us a lot of the history. The caretaker was in the video. He still lives at the Warrens' house, which is the museum, but unfortunately it's closed to the public. So thank you to Ghost City Tours and the presenters that were there and close and personal friends of the Warrens. They actually gave us an exclusive look while no one was there in the room and to capture a little more footage.
Some of the footage that you see of the artifacts were literally after everybody else left. They allowed us to go back in and get a little bit more footage. I was actually in the room with Annabelle by myself for a few seconds. I didn't look her in the eye, though.
I watched. I definitely watched.
I didn't look her in the eye, but that was crazy, guys.
I think it's amazing. Like, to this day, we're still fascinated with the paranormal, and we're still fascinated with the Warrens because they did so much work, and they brought attention to paranormal activity that people didn't want to listen, you know, didn't want to hear other people's stories or experiences, and they made the world listen. And I posted some pictures on social media, and so many people were commenting on Facebook, Instagram, and when I posted the picture of Annabelle, which we're going to put right here, people were saying, is that a hand touching Annabelle? And we were like, what? And we started looking at the pictures again and we're like, wow, that's crazy. So maybe you guys saw something that we didn't. I can tell you it was intense. I could tell you that you feel like Annabelle is watching you.
I'll say this, as the person who's the bit more of the, okay, I don't want to do that sort of thing. Yeah. Even though I was going to do it.
And he's very experimental. Pretty much we can do anything.
With that said, honey, the things you do for love.
And honestly, baby, I would go back and do it again.
Yeah, and she would probably
drag
me.
And I'm bringing you with me.
She dragged me with her too. Despite the knot in my stomach and all the joking around, it was an awesome experience. If you're into learning about new things or learning about things that you may not inquire about before, it's a good place to go. If it's in your town, if Miss Annabelle's in your town.
They're traveling across country right now, so they may be in your town or city. So hopefully they are in your city. They're only there for a couple of days, maybe some shorter than 2 days. Ours was only 2 days, May 13th and May 14th. And the tickets sold out right away.
So thank you to Ghost City Tours for inviting us out.
Yes, and letting us do this video so we can show the world our experience with Annabelle. We appreciate you. You guys are a good group of people. They are located all over in different cities, but we are honored to have them here in our city of New Orleans. And they're located on Royal Street in the French Quarter. And they do all kinds of ghost tours, cemetery tours, so many tours. We highly recommend that you book a tour with them. If you live here or you're visiting, you're going to have a great time with them.
Thank you to everybody who gave us this opportunity, who invited us out and let us do this.
Yeah.
And with that said, les bon temps roulés.
Let the good times roll with Ghost City Tours.